Hello guys, it's Ryan Ho back with another video. Today we have the iFi Neo iDSD Performance Edition. So you may be wondering what's the difference between the Performance Edition and the previous version, which is just the Neo iDSD. And the difference is really that this has the same hardware, but it has a new firmware update that includes like different filters as well as like screen brightness stuff, I think. And then we also have two things that come with it, and that's kind of the difference. So you get both a SPDIF Purifier 2 and a USB Purifier 3, and they come as a package, and that's what the Performance Edition is. Now, I want to thank iFi for sending this out for review. And this is actually quite an interesting device because I could actually tell the characteristic this had over my kind of desktop DAC amp really quickly. And then I also tested this like with headphones, obviously, right? But then I also tested this with my dad with his like speakers on like his bookshelf speakers with like his like kind of amps, and just using this as a DAC. And we could tell like right away like the kind of characteristic this thing has. I feel like some people think like DACs and stuff don't make that big of a difference, but you can actually kind of hear the difference of this one, at least compared to other stuff I have heard. Anyways, please like and subscribe down below. It really helps my videos out. So let's talk about some technology that this DAC amp comes with. So this DAC amp has Bluetooth, and it uses a Burr Brown chip, which is kind of a chip that iFi uses versus other ones might use like AKM or ESS Saber DACs. And I think people kind of describe Burr Brown as more natural sounding, and I would kind of agree with that. And the other thing is this is a fully balanced DAC amp. So they call it a pure wave technology is how they describe their balanced topology. But yeah, it's fully balanced. And it puts out 1 watt of power, which is a lot of power. It can even power my HE6 SCV2. And I mean, I don't really listen to my music that high, but I have it at negative like 23-ish at max volume. And I have a lot more room to work with, so it definitely has more than enough power for most headphones. So let's look at the build of the Neo. So it's machined out of aluminum, which is really great. It has this nice kind of knob that kind of clicks while you move it, which is really cool. It makes a nice sound. I really like it. I also like how fast it is at moving, and it also has multiple functions like playing and stopping your music, so you can also mute it. And yeah, so it has a variety of functions, which is really nice. As well as this device actually can kind of rotate, so you can have it sideways or you can have it kind of like top, so you can see the screen kind of moves depending on orientation. And then it comes with this device, so you can mount it straight up by putting in there. So it comes with like a lot of cool features that I don't really see in other DAC amps. And then we also have some of the buttons, and we can talk about the ports as well. So in the front, we have the 4.4 Pentacon port, and then we have a 6.35, so you can run it balanced right here through this, and then single-ended over here. In the back, I have it plugged in right now, so it has power, but we have XLR, RCA, XLR, coaxial, optical, and USB. I generally just use it using USB. I also used it with the USB purifier. So this thing over here, I had this plugged in, and that's how I did my testing with it. And then we also have the other port over here, which is for your Bluetooth antenna. Now going back to the front, we can talk about kind of the menus and the buttons. It's pretty simple. You have this button, which is your Bluetooth/input button. So you can cycle through your different inputs that you want to use. I generally just use USB because that's just how I listen to mine mostly. And then you can hold it down and it should go to your filters. So then you can kind of select different filters. So it has standard, GTO, bit perfect, and minimum phase. I was just using it at GTO since I generally like the GTO filter the most. I also tried it on standard, and they're both perfectly fine. I like them both. So those are filters I would recommend. And then we just have the power button, really, where you kind of hold the button down to turn it off and turn it on. And that's pretty much the gist of the device. There's not really too many complicated features it has. And yeah, it's pretty simple, but I like it. And then when you connect it to your devices, it kind of takes like full control over your volume control using this. So you can't change the volume using like your PC's volume, if that makes any sense. So the question is, how does the iFi Neo iDSD sound like? Like I said earlier, I think the sound is really obvious and very apparent. Within like 2 to 3 songs, I could already tell the characteristic this had. And my dad tested on speakers, and I was there with him, and I didn't give him any hints at all at what it sounded like. I just said, you try it out and you can figure it out yourself and let me know, because I don't want to make it biased for him either. And he literally played one song, and then with my SMSL SU9, then he switched DACs into this one. And within 5 seconds of switching this one, he instantly knew what it sounded like. And that's like, it just goes to show that it's pretty big difference in my opinion. So what does it sound right? So this thing has definitely a warmer tilt. So there's a lot less treble focus in this device than my SMSL SU9 DAC, as well as what I also hear is it kind of has a little bit more kind of, I guess, warmer mid-range. So the mid-range kind of pops out more. It's like emphasized a lot more than the treble. And you can definitely hear this character is pretty obvious. Like my dad literally said, this is less airy. He like instantly just said that. And that was his first impression of this DAC. And for me, I definitely agree with that. So when I was testing on my headphones, I had the HE6 and I have the HT58X. I've been doing a lot of mods with this headphone for fun. So I've been testing this out a lot too. And I instantly noticed that the treble was less emphasized. And the first thing I thought was like, that's a good pairing with my HE6. So my HE6 with the stock pads, I think the kind of the treble is a little bit emphasized a little bit too much sometimes, and it can come across as a little shouty in my opinion, and it could be a little uncomfortable. And then the mid-range of like high commands, they always have this kind of like scoop out and less like emphasis in the mid-range. Versus with this DAC, it has, like I said, less treble emphasis and more emphasis in the mid-range. And that really kind of helped pair it really well with like this hyphen man. But I think most hyphen mans also are very airy-ish, and they have like a lot of treble presentation. And then they also have like that mid scoop out, like I said. So this DAC, I feel like pairs really well with like hyphen headphones for sure. But there's also other headphones that kind of have that similar attribute that this DAC might actually pair well with as well. But for me, I definitely enjoyed it a lot on my HE6 SCV2 because of that characteristic. Now, the other things I kind of hear about this DAC, besides the fact that, like I said, it has less emphasis on the kind of the top end, is that it has kind of this, like, compared to like my, I guess, measurement focused desktop DAC amp, which is an SMSL SU9 and a topping A90. Those are very like known to be like very clean type of sound, versus the iFi is mostly known to have a more natural sound. And I kind of like pare down like what does it mean to have a little bit more natural sound. And I feel like it comes down to this decay, the sound of a decay. It's like if you're in a room, you kind of hear the walls and kind of echo a little bit, right? When I listen to my desktop DAC amp, there's not really much of an echo at all. You kind of hear the note and it just stops. And there's like no echo at all. Well, I wouldn't say echo, but there's no decay, right? It's not bouncing off the wall, right? So then when I listen to it on the Neo, it has a little bit more of a natural decay. And I feel like that's what gives this sound a little bit more naturalist, because the notes kind of like, you hear it and then they kind of sustain a little bit while they kind of decay away. And it kind of feels more like, I guess, accurate and more like real life because there's a decay, versus like, I feel like my desktop reference lacks a decay, so that can come across as very, I guess, clean but like sterile. And I feel like that could be kind of the thing that I notice the difference between those. And yeah, so I think that's why I think this device is actually very clean. Now, when it comes to kind of like the bass response of this thing, I don't think the bass response of this thing is kind of, it's just like, it's pretty neutral. It's not like overdone or like underemphasized. It's pretty much just there, and nothing bad or good to say about it. It's just there. And yeah, I think this is what the iFi Neo iDSD sounds like. Also, when it comes to like the sound stage and kind of the sense of space this provides, I definitely hear a really good depth to it, and as well as like the width actually sounds pretty good. I don't really feel like there's actually an end of like where it kind of just fades off in the distance. So I think the width of the sound stage is very good, and I definitely have no complaints about it at all. So in conclusion, I do think this is a very flavored DAC, but I think it actually pairs really well with like hyphen headphones specifically, but with other headphones that kind of have way too much treble and you kind of want to tame that. Like I also think of like Bear Dynamics and stuff. I feel like this DAC would do a very good job with those very like overly airy and overly like trebly headphones, I think they do really well with this DAC amp. Anyways, please like and subscribe down below. It really helps my videos out. I make a bunch of tech videos. I make like 3 videos a week, so you guys don't want to miss out on that. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.